Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hello everyone. In this video, we will learn about statistical analysis on the descriptive statistics and probability distribution. Okay, so basically, this is the learning outcomes for today's lesson. Basically, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to understand the concept of descriptive statistics and how to calculate it, and then you will know how to explain the different approaches in measuring probability distribution. Okay, first, let us take a look at the descriptive statistics, where we will use it to summarize or describe our data. So, what is descriptive statistics? So, basically, we need a brief descriptive coefficients that summarize a given data set, which can be either a representation of the entire population or a sample of a population. So, as I said before, we use it to summarize our data. When we have a data, we want to summarize or we want to describe our data. So, it is basically broken down into measures of central tendency and measures of variability or spread. So, there are two things that we need to describe for our data, which is the central tendency and variability. So, the central tendency includes the mean, median and mode. So, this one is very basic. And also, variability includes the standard deviation, variance, minimum and maximum variables, kurtosis and skewness. So, these two, normally when we have data or when we have results of any analysis, we want to statistically analyze it. Before we analyze it further, we will first describe our data first by using descriptive statistics. So, it helps describe and understand the features of a specific data set by giving short summaries about the sample and measures of the data. So, the most recognized types of descriptive statistics are the measures of center, mean, median and mode, which are used at almost all levels of math and statistics. So, it is so normal when we have a data. Normally, when we have a data, we want to know what are the maximum number, what are the minimum number, what is the mean of the data, the median and what so not. Basically, the mean or the average is calculated, you know this, by adding all the figures within the data set and dividing it by the number of figures within the set, so you know it already. And why we need the descriptive statistics? Because it helps us to repurpose the hard to understand quantitative insights across a large data set into a bite-sized descriptions. It also helps us in describe or summarize the characteristics of a sample or data set, such as the mean, the standard deviation, frequency of each of the variables inside our data. While this descriptive help understand data attributes, the inferential statistic will help us to understand how variables interact with one another in a data set. So, it is a separate branch of statistics. Normally, when we want to statistically analyze our data, we will need to use the descriptive statistics to briefly summarize the data, to describe the data, and we also need the inferential statistic that will help us in understand how the variables interact, what are their relationships with one another. Okay, so this is the differences between the descriptive statistics and the inferential statistics. As I said before, descriptive statistics summarize the characteristics of data set. Inferential statistics, on the other hand, allow you to test a hypothesis or assess whether your data is generalizable to the broader population. So, data set is made up of a distribution of values or scores. So, we can use tables and graph to summarize the frequency of every possible value of a variable in numbers or percentages. So, basically, we can have a set of data and then we can summarize it by using frequency distribution like this. For example, the favorite subject for history, English, maths and science, basically 35 students say their favorite subject is history, 25 of them said it is English, 46 of them say it is maths, 55 of them said it is science. And we can also represent it as a percentages as shown over here, right? So, what is central tendency? So, basically, central tendency focus on the average or middle values of data sets, whereas the measures of variability focus on the dispersion of the data. So, these two measures basically will use graph, tables, and general discussions to help people who will refer to your data or will read your study understand the meaning of the analyzed data. So, we describe the center position of a distribution for a data set. So, basically, a person analyze the frequency of each data point in the distribution and describe it by using mean, median, or mode, which measures the most common patterns of the data. So, for example, let us take a look at this. Let's say we have like number of visit of these Avengers to library. So they went to the libraries. How many times did they go to the libraries? So as we can see here, Iron Man went to libraries for 5 times. Captain America went to library for 8 times. Spider-Man 9, Thor 5, Hulk 5, Black Widow 4, Loki 10, and Doctor Strange is 8. So we can calculate the mode, median, and mean. So mode is the most frequently appeared numbers, okay, which is, as we can see here, it is number 5. And median is the middle number, which is 6.5, and mean is the average, you know it. Then we have variability. So basically, measures of variability, or it is a measure of spread, aid in analyzing how dispersed the distribution is for a set of data. For example, while the measures of central tendency may give us average of a data set, it does not describe how the data is distributed within the set. So we use variability for this purpose. So let us take a look at the same data. First, it is a range. So range is how far apart the most extreme response scores are. So it is maximum value minus the minimum value. So the maximum value from our data set is 10 and the minimum value from our data set is 4. So the differences between this maximum and minimum value is range. So the range of this data set is 10 minus 4, and we got 6. Right, next is the standard deviation. So basically, standard deviation is the average amount of variability in your data set. So on average, how far each score lies from the mean. So the larger the standard deviation, the more variable the data set is. So how are we going to calculate it? So first, we need to list each score and find their mean. And we need to subtract the mean from each score to get the deviation from the mean. And then we square them and add up all the squared deviations. We divide the sum of the squared deviations by n minus 1, and we find the square root of the number that we have found. So this is how we calculate it. So first we need to calculate the mean, and then we need to calculate the deviation of these numbers from the mean, and then we square them, and then we have the sum also. We need to sum it, and we can calculate the standard deviation. So basically, the sum of the standard deviation divide by n minus 1. So sum is 35.5. Divide by the n is 8 minus 1, and we got 5.071. And we square the answer to get our standard deviation, which is 2.252. Like this. Right, so this is the formula for calculating the standard deviation. What about variance? So variance is the average of scattered deviations from the mean. So it reflects the degree of spread in our data set. The more spread the data, the larger the variance in relation to the mean. To find the variance, we just need to simply square the standard deviation. So the symbol for the variance is a squared. So it is 5.071. Alright, next, let's take a look at the two types of the descriptive statistics. The first one is the univariate descriptive statistics, where it focuses on only one variable at a time. So it is important to examine data from each variable separately by using multiple measures of distribution, central tendency, and spread. Programs like SPSS and Excel can be used to easily calculate this, because sometimes we have like thousands of data, hundreds of data. It is quite difficult for us to calculate it one by one manually by using calculator. So we use programs like SPSS and Excel to help us. But you need to know the steps and you need to know the formula on how to calculate it, because we don't want to rely so much on the software. We use the software to make our works easier. If we only consider mean as a measure of central tendency, impression of middle of the data set can be skewed by outliers, unlike median or mode, because we often have outliers in our data. So likewise, while range is sensitive to extreme values, we should also consider standard deviation and variance to get easily comparable measures of spread. Okay, so this is the example for the univariate descriptive statistics like I showed before. So the number of samples is 8, the mean is 6.75, median is 6.5, our mode is 5, the standard deviation is 2.252, variance is 5.071, and the range is 6. Okay, what about the bivariate descriptive statistics? So the collected data on more than one variable, we use bivariate or multivariate descriptive statistics to explore whether there are relationships between them. So this is the key. We want to find out the relationship between the data. Simultaneously, we need to study frequency and the variability of the two variables to see if they vary together. We can also compare the central tendency of two variables before performing further the statistical tests such as the t-test and whatnot. Multivariate analysis is the same as bivariate analysis but with more than two variables. And then the next is the contingency table, where each cell represents intersection of two variables. So usually independent variable appears along vertical axis and a dependent appears along the horizontal axis. So we read the across table to see how independent and dependent variables relate to each other. So for example here, number of visits to the library to PITA, the frequency is from 1 to 5, 6 to 10 times, 7 to 15 times, 16 to 20 times, and more than 20 times. And we have male and female, how many numbers of male and how many numbers of female that went to library for each of the frequency classes. So, interpreting the contingency table is easier when the raw data is converted to percentages, because percentages make each row comparable to other by making it seem as if each group had only 100 observations of participants. So, if we compare to the previous one, it is way easier if we represent the contingency table in percentages like this. So when creating a percentage-based contingency table, we add the n for each of independent variables on the end. Okay. So the contingency table, we can use it to describe our data visually, and we can also use scatter plot. So scatter plot is a chart that shows relationships between 2 or 3 variables. It is a visual representation of strength of a relationship. So in a scatter plot, we can plot one variable along the x-axis and another one along the y-axis. So each data is presented by a point in chart. So basically, different type of data, we can use different type of descriptive statistics only. For example, if our data is a nominal data, where the mathematical operations is only equality, the measure of central tendency that we can use is mode, and the measure of variability is none. None of the measure of variability can be conducted on the nominal data type, which is a name or categorical data. Then we have the ordinal data. So it can be equality or comparison. So we can measure the mode and median. And for variability, we can measure range and interquartile range. For interval, the mathematical operations to be performed, it can be equality, comparison, addition, and subtraction. The measure of central tendency that can be used is the mode, median, and arithmetic mean. Measure of variability that can be used for interval data type is range, interquartile range, standard deviation, and variance. And when we have ratio data, the mathematical operations that can be performed is the equality, comparison, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And the measure of central tendency that can be used is the mode, median, arithmetic mean, and geometric mean. And for the measures of variability, we can measure the range, interquartile range, standard deviation, variance, and relative standard deviation. So, as a summary, descriptive statistics is used to summarize the characteristics of a dataset. It concerns with the frequency distribution, central tendency, and variability of a dataset. So there are two types of statistics, descriptive statistics that we can measure, which is the univariate statistics, which summarize only one variable at a time, and bivariate statistics that compare two variables, and also the multivariate statistics that compare more than two variables. Okay, so next let us take a look at the probability distribution. So what is the probability distribution? So basically, it is a statistical functions that describe the likelihood of obtaining possible values that a random variable can take. The range will be bounded between minimum and maximum possible values, but precisely where the possible values is likely to be plotted on the probability distribution depending on a number of factors such as the mean, standard deviation, skewness, and scattersis. So the general properties of the probability distribution is that it indicates the likelihood of an event or outcome. The sum of all probabilities for all possible values must equal to 1. The probability of a particular value or range of values must be between 0 and 1. And we need to describe the dispersion of values of a random variable. Consequently, the kind of variable determines the type of probability distribution. So there are two types of probability distribution, which is discrete probability distributions for discrete variables and probability density functions for continuous variables. So let us take a look at the discrete probability distribution. Basically, it is also known as probability mass functions. It can assume a discrete number of values. For example, the coin tosses and counts of events are discrete functions. So when we toss a coin, it can be either head or tail. So there is no in-between values. Each possible value has a non-zero likelihood. Probabilities for all possible values must sum to 1, as I said before. Thus, one of the values must occur for each opportunity. So there are several types of discrete probability distributions, which is binomial, Poisson, and uniform. So for binomial, basically it is a model binary data such as the coin tosses. So for Poisson distribution, it models the count data such as the count of library book checkouts per hour. And for uniform distribution, it models multiple events with the same probability, such as when we roll a die. Next is the continuous probability distributions. It is also known as a probability density function. It can assume an infinite number of values between any two values. Continuous variables are often on a scale such as height, weight, and temperature. Unlike discrete probability distribution where each particular value has a non-zero likelihood, specific values in continuous distribution have a zero probability. For example, the likelihood of measuring a temperature that is exactly 32 degrees is 0. Why is it so? Consider that number can be an infinite number of other temperatures that are infinitesimally higher or lower than 32. Statisticians say that individual value has an infinitesimally small probability that is equivalent to 0. So how are we going to measure the continuous probability distribution? So it measured over a range of values rather than single points. The probability indicates the likelihood that a value will fall within an interval. This property is straightforward to demonstrate using a probability distribution plot. On the probability distribution plot, the entire area under the distribution curve is equals to 1. This fact is equivalent to how the sum of all probabilities must equal to 1 for the discrete distribution earlier. The proportion of area under the curve that falls within a range of values along x-axis represents the likelihood that a value will fall within that range. Finally, we can't have an area under curve with only one single value, which explains why probability equals 0 for an individual value. So the characteristics of the continuous probability distributions includes specifying the parameters established shapes of distribution and all of its probabilities entirely. These parameters could represent an essential properties of distribution such as central tendency and variability. For normal distribution, we use bell curve. It fits variety of phenomena. And it has two parameters, which is the mean and standard deviation. There is also Weibull distribution that fits the skewed data, and we also have the log normal distribution that also fits the skewed data. So as a summary, probability distribution is used to describe the likelihood of obtaining possible values that a random variable can take. There are two types of probability distribution, which are discrete and continuous. It is important to understand the purpose of statistical analysis to determine the probability distribution methods that we need to use. Right? So I think that's it for this lesson. I hope you understand. In the next lesson, we will learn about the inferential statistics, which is the continuation of the descriptive statistics. As I said before, when we have the data, we need to describe it by using descriptive statistics, and after that, we need to analyze it by using the inferential statistics. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much for listening. Till our next lesson. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum.